Good evening and welcome. What a delight to be here and see a whole bunch of people I do know and a few I don't know so well. So let me introduce myself. My name is John Lewis. I nearly said Michael Caine, but that would be inappropriate. And I'm the current president, the privilege of being the current president of the Geological Society. For those of you who don't know me, I'll just do a quick thumbnail of my career. I spent the first 2/3 pulling carbon out of the ground as a geoscientist in the petroleum industry, and the last third trying not to do so, working in geothermal energy, trying to find other things that might be useful, like natural hydrogen and helium, and yes, trying to shove it back in the ground, the carbon that is, in terms of carbon capture and storage. So enough about me. Let's start the evening, and we need to start with a little bit of housekeeping. There are no planned fire alarms this evening. If the fire alarm does go, you'll hear the bell and you'll need to leave by the available exits. I always love this bit, 2 at the rear and 1 on my right-hand side, your left-hand side. The assembly point is in the courtyard, just to my right, to your left, and you'll be able to follow members of staff, all of whom will be wearing the yellow lanyards. I do hope it does not come to that, of course. In terms of facilities, we'll be operating on this level and the one above through the evening. There are toilets, accessible toilets on both levels, and on your left-hand side, there is also a lift, should you wish to use it, to go between those 2 levels. Again, if you need help, find someone with the yellow lanyard and they will support you, as it were. Yeah, that'll do. I was going to support you, maybe help you anyway. There we go. Let me just tell you a little bit about the society. More or less everyone in the room will know that it was formed in 1807, the first to seed from the Royal Society. And its object has been fairly straightforward: to learn more about the Earth, how it operates, basically the geology, the geoscience of our own planet. We've stretched out a little bit out to other planets as in the last few decades or so, but it's not an exclusive club. Yes, of course there are fellows, but part of our remit as an educational charity is to look outwards to society. Just think about your ability to read the landscape. What a wonderful attribute that is. And if we can share that widely, we're doing ever so well. And in fact, the whole of the evening is about that engagement beyond these 4 walls in Burlington House. I'm big on trying to do that. And I came up with a little anecdotal story. It's not even an anecdote. I made it up on the bus, as it were. Consider 2 people walking along Piccadilly, and one says to the other, "There's somewhere really famous just a wee bit down, further down along the road. What's it called? I can't, I've forgotten." And the person with them says, "You mean the Ritz?" I said, "No, not the Ritz. It's opposite the Geological Society." Oh, it's Fortnum and Mason. So in other words, that's a little, if you like, shortcut for saying people think of us and what we do and the Earth before they pop over and buy their very expensive jam and marmalade and so on. And so that's what the whole of this evening is about. Now, I've got the power. I hadn't realised then. Geoscience is global. We have, of course, it's global. This is the Earth, you know. And the map behind you shows the participation that we have both in the room and online tonight. If I remember my figures correctly, there are over 500 people have registered to be with us this evening from 54 countries on 6 continents. Is that good? I've remembered my briefing properly. And so we have a global reach as the society. We have members all over the world and the potential for outreach across the globe. And in my own career, I've had the good fortune as a geoscientist to work around the globe, to work with many different people in many different lands. From standing on the edge of the Ngorongoro crater, staring down into a complete blank of rain and seeing nothing at all, to the wonders of being high on the Zagros Mountains in Iran and getting the privilege of being invited by some builders to share their food in what otherwise was a desolate and beautiful area. So I think geoscience is also that great leveling, if you will, allowing us to understand people around the globe as well as the rocks that sit beneath our feet. And so Geoscience is a global campaign. Our audience this evening, well, I've already mentioned that, my apologies, I'm getting ahead of or behind myself, as it were. So let us take a look at This is Geoscience. You'll hear a great deal more about the images and the logos and the way in which we've portrayed that for this launch tonight. It's a combination or a culmination rather of 2 years of phenomenal amount of work from a large team here in the Society. And it sort of expands and develops on what has gone before. We're targeting anyone that really has any inkling of an interest in the Earth itself, whether it's schools, school visits, family days, a range of other activities, pre-university students, or even grandparents, the big influencers, as it were, of the next generation. Because as the population of the planet grows, our demand on resources gets ever more acute. How often do we see in the headlines a rare earth crisis, or even today, government and opposition arguing over the best way to fuel all of the people all the time? Someone said something a bit similar to that, didn't they? And we are the clue and the cue to better understanding how not only how to resource the people of the planet, but also how to look after that resource, how to, I was going to say a word which was inappropriate then, but I'll say it anyway because it applies. I was going to say husband, but let's also say wife that resource as well, sort of look after it. So we hope to foster demand for geoscience, and you'll get a wonderful array of data which the team have collected over the past few years to just demonstrate what geoscience means in the UK and by extension globally. So the team, this is the main team. You'll hear from many of them this evening. I'm going to thank them all as a group, but pick out Nat in particular, who's led this is Geoscience throughout those 2 years. So without further ado, all you have to remember are 4 words, 4 Ps: pipeline, prospects, perceptions, and participation. And each of the team will lead you through those elements this evening. Have good fun, ask questions online, or we'll have a forum at the end of the session for the live questions. Please participate in questions, in discussion, and then, of course, in the wine upstairs. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John, for that kind introduction, and welcome to everybody that's joining us today for This is Geoscience. My name is Dr. Natasha Stephen, or Nat for short, is what everybody knows me by, and I am a geoscientist. I did an undergraduate degree in geoscience at Royal Holloway, University of London. I did a master's studying volcanoes in Iceland, which was really exciting, but decided that too many people were studying volcanoes in Iceland and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So then went on to do a PhD in volcanoes on Mars and how we link up volcanic rocks from Mars to the spacecraft and satellite and rover observations that we get from the red planet. But my job here at the Geological Society is Director of Science and Engagement, which means I get to lead a wonderful team, many of whom you're going to hear from and get to meet this evening, across a wide variety of different activities at the Society. That includes all of our education and our public engagement, as well as a great many other things that you won't hear so much about tonight. But as John mentioned, This is Geoscience is broken down into 4 separate sections. The first one that I want to talk about is pipeline. And of course, pipeline is really important for geosciences because we need people to come into geoscience to then work in geosciences to support the geoscience of tomorrow. Pathways from education through to employment were a real focus of the This is Geoscience project over the last couple of years, and we want to share some of that data with you today, being published for the first time. So in the UK, students can choose to study geology at ages 14 to 16 as part of a GCSE programme, or 16 to 18 as part of their A-levels in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Unfortunately, in Scotland, geology or geoscience is not a separate subject that is available. However, it is built into the curriculum elsewhere. So the data we're presenting here for under 18s is a course for England, Wales and Northern Ireland. And there are currently 100 schools and colleges that teach A-level geology, that's ages 16 to 18, and 27 that offer it at GCSE. With more than 4,000 secondary schools in the UK and a further 2,461 independent schools on top of that teaching that age range, that means that less than 2% of the current school provision in the UK offers geology and geoscience to those under the age of 18, which is not enough. The situation is even worse at GCSE level, with fewer than 0.5% of schools offering geology prior to the age of 16. We've been trying to address this by helping provide schools information to teachers, and we currently have more than 500 teachers signed up to our school's affiliate network, which allows us to provide information and teaching resources directly to teachers in schools, whether they are teaching one of those formal geoscience or geology programs, or they are teaching geoscience within geography and science syllabuses elsewhere in the curriculum. Courtesy of the Earth Science Teachers Association, we have A-level geology entry data for those 100 schools over the last 20 years. The first year of A-level in the UK is known as the AS level, and the second year is A2. Students can choose to take the AS level alone and stop after 1 year, or continue and do a full 2-year programme. Whilst the numbers of students have decreased over time, largely due to the reduction in schools and colleges that are offering the qualifications, unfortunately, at this level, there has typically been a very high retention rate of students studying geoscience, geology, A-level in the first year and continuing into their second year, higher than many of the other STEM subjects. But how does this compare when students get past the age of 18 and they want to go to university, or if going to university is the first opportunity that they've had to study the subject because they weren't near one of those 100 schools that offered it at ages 16? Well, according to UCAS, in the UK, there are 34 higher education institutions currently offering geoscience programs. That constitutes 258 different geoscience courses available. It's hard to extrapolate the real data behind these numbers, though. We know that there are a lot of challenges in the way that UCAS are reporting things and the way things that are reported between the devolved nations within the UK, let alone when we compare it to an international picture. For example, the way that UCAS coded its degree programs changed in 2014. They used to be called geology, and now there is a wider earth sciences program, and it conflates other environmental courses which wouldn't typically fall under that geoscience remit. So this 258 geoscience courses may in fact be an overestimation of what is currently available. So how can we really trust these numbers? Are they truly representative? Well, we weren't so sure. So we decided to look at data that we have control over, that we know all the background behind, and thankfully the Geological Society has been accrediting degree programs in the UK for the last 25 years. Since the degree accreditation scheme was launched in 1997, university departments in the UK and abroad have been able to submit their degree programs for assessment by a panel of experts. This aims to demonstrate that the programs being designed and taught in universities have been evaluated to align with the skills and knowledge required for a career in the geosciences. As it stands today, and for the last 20 years, more than 80% of the available geoscience courses in the UK have been accredited by the Geological Society. You can see that over time here, the number of accredited degree programs has greatly increased between 2000 and 2025, where we are today, up to almost 200 in the current academic year. The number of geoscience departments teaching those degree programs has also changed, and not always for the better. Further still, lots of these university departments are struggling in higher education as a sector at the moment. Several universities have closed their geoscience departments in recent years, or they've merged geosciences with other subjects within the same faculty. Many more are still at risk today. And that is a real challenge for us when we're trying to encourage people into geosciences. We want it to be as accessible and as available as possible. So what else can our accredited geoscience degree data tell us? Not just the absolute numbers, but what makes a geoscience degree? We know there were challenges with the UCAS coding back in 2014. What is geoscience? Well, thankfully, thanks to the level of accreditation data we get, courses submit the breakdown of what the different topics are that they're teaching within their degree programs. Universities have diversified the way they teach over the last 25 years. If we go back to the year 2000, more than 15% of undergraduate degree programs that were available in UK universities were joint or combined honours. Those are the programs that are geology with physical geography, geology with computing, geology with ocean science, all those different joint degree programs. But today, that number has reduced to less than 7% of available courses. Some courses that used to be standalone subjects, such as geochemistry, have completely disappeared off the map, whereas other new programs and standalone courses have come online, such as Earth and Planetary Sciences in recent years. And others have always been there, but have suddenly seen an increase and surge in popularity in recent years, paleontology, for example. There has definitely been a shift in the last 25 years to the more applied or environmental subjects. And whilst this is visible in the data we can see here, a really important distinction remains. We've got lots of different degree names on this chart here, but of all the ones that we have today, all the way back to when the scheme started in 1997, fewer than 40% of all degree programs offered at universities were called geology. Fewer than 40%. So if we only consider geology rather than the wider geosciences, we are missing out on the breadth of geoscience courses that are being accredited, are being deemed suitable, necessary, strategically important by leaders in the field and the peers who are making those assessments. It's really important that we showcase how dynamic and broad geoscience is and not just focus on the traditional geology alone. If we look again at the total accredited degree numbers in the UK, but we remove variations from that total number of 196. So instead of counting geoscience with a year abroad, geoscience with a year in industry as 3 separate programs, when in fact they are the same program with an additional year placement, we can reduce those numbers down. And we can see actually that the numbers of the different types of geoscience program in absolute numbers has been decreasing in recent years. This further reflects the struggles of the higher education sector at present and the necessity to further demonstrate to everyone that geosciences are important, if not vital, to the successful future of planet Earth and all of us humans within it. So we wanted to investigate how much the reduction in geoscience offering in higher education was having an impact on geoscience student numbers and the number of graduates that we were putting out into the world. To do this for here in the UK, we purchased student data from the Higher Education Statistics Agency, or HESA for short. We have data going back 20 years, and over the last 20 years, we can see that there used to be a relatively stable average of around 4,500 students every year for the years between 2002 and to 2007. This increased to a peak of almost 7,000 in the year 2014 into the 2015 academic year. But this peak, this massive peak, the highest one in 15 years, was then followed by a period of steep decline. And it, of course, does correspond to UCAS changing the way in which geoscience programs were being coded as well. But reassuringly, this number has started increasing again in recent years. You can see from 2021, 2022, and 2023, we are seeing a steady incline, according to HESA. That decline between 2015 and 2017 was anecdotally described within universities as being due to a demographic dip, that there were simply fewer students available to go to university, regardless of the subjects that they wanted to study. So is that why there were fewer total geoscience students in those years, because there just weren't enough students? And how do we quantify that without absolute student numbers for the same period? Well, the Office for National Statistics allows us to look at the number of 16 or 18-year-olds within England and Wales in any given year. Unfortunately, Scotland does report separately. So for this information, we are now talking about England and Wales. Now, of course, not all 18-year-olds choose to go to university, and not all those that do necessarily go straight away. They might take a gap year and go to university when they're 19, when they're 20, when they're 21. We're also aware that there are plenty of students that come back to university later in life. I personally taught a number of very excellent students who were in their 60s and 70s coming back to do a degree in geosciences after they retired from their first career, just because they were really enthusiastic and passionate about the subject. However, noting those assumptions, we can perhaps use the number of 18-year-olds as a proxy for the potential availability of students in any given year. Can we see that demographic dip that was described to explain the drop in numbers between 2015 and 2017? Well, perhaps it might be in there, but it certainly doesn't look as stark as this HESA data would show. However, there is some reassuring numbers in here as well. If we look to 2028, there is a big peak coming, far higher than anything we've had in the previous 25 years. So maybe that's good news for universities and other higher education institutions in the coming years. But of course, total student numbers for the UK at any given point in time are difficult to quantify owing to the variations in the way in which the reporting is done between the devolved nations, who you can get data from, and when they make it available. Also, the point at which those assessments are made is difficult to do. Do you count the number of students going into university, the ones that are still there 6 months in, they haven't dropped out of their programs, the ones that graduate at the end? It changes between devolved nations, between universities, and between agencies. So if we assume that the total number of 18-year-olds is indicative of the total student population in any given year, not absolute, just indicative, we can normalise the geoscience student data as a percentage of the available student population and consider any resultant demographic trends that we see within those numbers. Over the full 2020, the 22-year period that we have available from the year 2001 to 2024, the total number of students studying geoscience at degree level has increased overall, with the average in the last 10 years far higher than the average in the preceding 10. And you can see that change very clearly here. In this normalized model, you can also see the 2014-2015 peak, the decline in student numbers between 2015 and 2018, and the trend starting to increase again in recent years. So this is good news, but of course we know we still need more students. Is this the case elsewhere though? We're only looking at England and Wales here. Well, anecdotally, the challenge in recruiting geoscience students at university is seen very much as a global issue. Every time we go anywhere and we talk to anyone, everybody seems to be facing the same challenges and struggling to find the right solutions. Following the analysis of the UK student enrolment data that we had for England and Wales, we sought to investigate the international position, and we put a call out to our partners, our international memberships, partners, other like-minded individuals who are working on similar things, to provide data for comparable analysis, reporting on the total student population and those studying for geoscience degrees within the same period. Assessing comparable data reveals that the 2014 peak that we see in England and Wales was not necessarily seen across Western Europe. Up here, I have Germany in pink and Switzerland in green for comparison, the data having been treated the same way. In Germany, a peak was seen in 2011, followed by a period of decline, and in Switzerland, numbers peaked later in 2018. Normalizing international student data against total student populations highlights trends that we can make comparisons against. A general decline in Switzerland over the last 20 years, a stable position in Germany, and perhaps a slight increase in England and Wales. However, not all datasets are directly comparable. We did receive data from many of our international partners, and as John mentioned, we have 54 countries around the world joining us this evening. We know that a lot of you have that information. that sometimes people report graduates only, not entry level. Sometimes the total student population isn't available for a country because they don't collate it nationally. It might be done at an institutional level. So whilst we have lots of data, we really do need the global geoscience community's help in making sure that it is directly comparable to that we already have available. So we're going to repeat our call for the data that we put out first in 2022 and 2023. If you have data that you can share with us, we would love to hear from you. Whether that is geoscience students in university, prior to university, whether it's the number of geoscientists that your company employs, we would love to have access to that information. And of course, we will cite you and share the information where we are allowed to do so. These differences that we have in data have presented challenges for making international comparisons. But all of the returning countries, whether we've shown the data here tonight or not, shared a reduction in the total student numbers over the last 20 or 30 years. So if you have access to any of the information that can help us interrogate that story further, we would love to hear from you. And with that, I will stop and I will hand over to my colleague Tom, who's going to take you through the next section of our presentation.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Tom, as my big face up there shows. I've actually written it down here because it felt important to tell you. And I'm also a geoscientist by training. I did a geology undergraduate degree and a geoscience master's, and then also felt the need to go and study other bodies in the solar system. And after a whale of a time as a planetary scientist, I have joined the Geological Society about 2 years ago as Science and Funding Officer. So this means that I work across a broad range of projects, but have had the pleasure of supporting this one. In this section, I'm going to be moving us through prospects. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things. The first of those is some work that we've been doing to understand answers to a couple of really key questions relating to working in the geoscience sector. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some qualitative research that we've done into the online careers resource that your average prospective geoscientist might encounter. And in the context of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things we've been doing to support the delivery of consistent messaging and up-to-date information, making its way into the accessible resource provision. So to start with, as part of the research that we've done into current geoscience jobs, we looked at quantitative data as well as qualitative information from a selection of job adverts in a 12-month period from March 2024 to the end of February 2025. In that time, and this also is UK specific, in the UK, there were 5,367 unique job postings created by 742 distinct employers. And that forms the basis for the figures that follow on the next couple of slides. So the first question that we wanted to understand was, what job roles are available for geoscientists? Now, this plot shows the range and number of different roles in different areas of the sector more broadly. And there are a couple of kind of really key things to take away from this. The first is the range of listings, which reflects the diversity that has come from the variety of degree programs that Nat talked about a couple of minutes ago. And the second, and the really big one that's important to remember for everybody, both early in their career and later in their career, is that the sector is much more than just geologists, which is fantastic news for anybody graduating, fantastic news for anybody considering a career in the sector, and for people who might be considering changing careers slightly later down the line, as this opens up the possible roles that they can be investigating and considering for themselves. So the next question we wanted to understand was, what might a geoscience graduate be paid? We found that the median graduate geoscientist salary for listings in the analysed period in the UK, not to overqualify, was £34,293 a year. To explain just briefly the figures or the numbers on this figure, the pink bar on the left-hand side shows the Department for Education's reported median salary for all graduates, and the orange bar in the middle shows HESA figure for average graduate salary for all graduates after 15 months from graduation. So just to let you, have a look at that for a moment. That gives our figure 32% higher than the Department for Education one, and is even 24% over the HESA figure. So this is another really important messaging point, supporting the idea that jobs in geoscience are well paid. So the last question that we considered for now was, how do salaries of geoscience jobs vary with experience and training? And there are two key points to take away from this. The first is that the median salary advertised for geoscientists with 5 years experience in the field is an increase of 20% over the fresh graduate number. And that the median the listings for which a postgraduate degree was necessary was as median 26% higher than that figure as well. So this shows that a geoscience degree and further training or experience in the field are a really strong foundation for growing your salary as your career progresses. So with those few points in mind, and I hope I haven't whizzed through them too quickly, we've identified some really core data-supported messages that are an important part of encouraging the next generation of geoscientists to consider their place in the field. But one of the challenges that we face is actually getting these messages in front of them, not just students necessarily, but families, educators, people who will have influence over the career decisions that all prospective geoscientists, not just young people, will make. So, as I mentioned, we conducted, I'll call it qualitative research, but it was a bit of a trawl into the top results from a range of possible search queries that a prospective geoscientist might make using your kind of average search engine. And we came to a couple of core conclusions. There are some real pros to what's available. The first and probably biggest one is that careers information and about geoscience specifically is probably more accessible than it has ever been. So that's great. It's available at a second's Google, if you're so inclined. There's also a real variety to the types of resources that are available. These range from data-supported, quite general analyses of geoscience as a broad sector, but also drilling down into some of the subsections. But there's also a massive host of anecdotal, personal accounts of people's careers hosted on all sorts of online forums and web platforms of that kind. And also importantly, there are lots of different formats for this content, whether that's video, whether it's infographic, whether it's written interviews, which is wonderful because that supports lots of different people to learn about the careers content in the way that suits them. But there are also some pretty heavy cons that come with the over-availability of all that information. And that is, it's quite an overwhelming choice. You know, to a casual search, you come up against tens at least of things, of search results that are saying possibly broadly the same thing, but they certainly all look broadly the same. When you actually take a look at that content though, lots of it is low quality, aggregated, not checked necessarily by a person before it's uploaded onto the website. In these instances and in other instances, it can be quite unclear when any of the information was last updated. As we all know, geoscience is a rapidly and ever-evolving field, so that's particularly important. This leads to inconsistent and sometimes inaccurate or outdated messaging. And the most important part from all of that is that it's really confusing. If you are a prospective geoscientist, you're having lots of different types of information thrown at you. So, just briefly, I'm going to run through some of the core things that we're doing to try and deliver accessible content that is consistent and, importantly, accurate. So the first and perhaps most broad-reaching resource is the Society's repository of careers profiles, which are a comprehensive tool for students, educators, and those changing careers to explore opportunities within the sector. Each profile includes written or video interviews providing personal perspectives on individuals' roles, skills, and sometimes day-to-day as well, which is particularly important. These resources were accessed over 94,000 times in 2024, but we're still looking to enhance this provision by updating existing profiles to ensure that they're relevant and proactively reaching out to individuals in underrepresented roles to diversify the offering. To do this, we created a survey for career profile submissions, which has to date amassed over 100 responses, which is fantastic. These include geoscience professionals at all career stages, from early career to retirement, providing a comprehensive insight into career progression, which is great. Responses have been used to produce new profiles in line with the broader This is Geoscience campaign materials that you're going to see a bit more of in a little bit, with a growing number of profiles in a centralized and importantly accessible format. So we will continue to expand our library of profiles to ensure diverse representation of careers and individuals within geoscience to ensure that they remain relevant and informative as the sector continues to evolve. Now for one you might recognize, and usually would be out front of Burlington House. This is the Society's Geoscience for the Future poster, which illustrates the crucial roles that geoscientists do currently and will continue to play in the future of our society, showcasing 34 different subsections of the sector, each of which accompanied by relevant United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The poster is available in 28 languages, which widens access to vital careers information to lots of people in and outside the UK, and helps to create an inclusive environment in the subject as well. Geoscience for the Future is available to download freely from the Society's website, and we post paper copies upon request still as well. By developing new careers resources as part of the work that we're doing for This is Geoscience, we want to expand the information that's on this and other posters, showcasing more geoscience careers pathways and languages which don't currently feature in the offering. So, one of the really important parts of this campaign was to ensure that we were engaging with platforms that young people in particular already engage with. So to do this, the education team conducted a survey at a series of teachers' conferences with responses from about half of educators noting that they use Unifrog to support their careers provisions in their schools. Unifrog is a subscription-based careers advice web platform, which rolls off the tongue, for school-age students that offers extensive information about university courses, apprenticeships, and careers in a wide range of fields. The platform uses information provided by the students to generate a profile, personalized careers profile that will stay with them after they have left school as well. So that resource stays with them for life. According to their data, Unifrog works with over 60% of all UK state schools, with over 1.9 million students currently active on the platform and still growing. So, on the strength of that and the endorsement from the educator community, we decided to support and expand geoscience careers content on the platform. The Society's main contribution involves this insider's perspective on working in the geosciences. The content on this page promotes the necessity and accessibility of the subject, the diverse range of careers pathways that people can take, and the core transferable qualities that all geoscientists share, regardless of the specifics of what they work on. We've also sponsored several, for now. Unifrog produced careers videos focused on a couple of geoscientists, sharing the highlights of their careers and also the reality of their day-to-day jobs as well. These videos appear on Unifrog's career information pages with for geoscience and earth science, pitched at slightly different age groups, with in-depth information about university courses, apprenticeships, and statistics on prospective pay in the fields as well. So, as part of this, we will continue to assess the impact of hosting content on Unifrog, and we will also be on the lookout for ways in which quality careers resources that are consistent and up to date can be disseminated to reach as broad an audience as possible. For now, I'm able to give you a preview of the kind of inspiring content that we're supporting.
Geology and geoscience is so exciting because it's so embedded in real-world problems that we're facing today. It's in your smartphones. You walk outside, it's in the ground, it's keeping your house up. And without geologists and geoscientists, we wouldn't be able to live the life we live now or want to live. Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm the Education Officer for the Geological Society. Geoscience, also known as geology or earth science, is the study of how Earth and planets formed and have changed. Geoscientists are interested in the processes that have shaped our environment through its 4.5 billion year history. They use their knowledge and skills to understand how the natural world has evolved and discover ways that we can live more sustainably. Because geology is a part of everything, that means there are so many different roles that you could do. Some geoscientists work to understand the formation and distribution of natural resources, like minerals, water, and energy. Others try to mitigate the risks posed by natural hazards or geological events, like landslides and earthquakes. As a geoscientist, you could also work in the engineering sector. They support the development of roads, buildings, bridges, and tunnels, so that the infrastructure we interact with in day-to-day life is built in harmony with the Earth. A common myth about geoscience is that it's best suited to people who like being outdoors. Whilst there are lots of opportunities for geoscientists to get outside in their work, jobs that involve digital modelling software, data processing, lab experiments, and analysis are just as important in piecing together the processes that control the Earth's evolution. Earth scientists and geoscientists have a key role to play in tackling climate change in collaboration with lots of other types of scientists and engineers. They might work on things like carbon capture, or finding and sustainably extracting the materials we need to construct electric vehicles, wind turbines, and solar panels. All geoscientists need to have keen observation skills, whether observing physical rocks in hand specimens, reading or evaluating data on a map, or examining samples under a microscope. Attention to the small details that inform us about the Earth's history are really important. The kind of person that would make a great geoscientist is curious about the natural world and our interactions with it. They're motivated to find solutions to environmental, engineering, and energy challenges facing communities worldwide. You can demonstrate that in several different ways, including doing work experience in a geoscience-related field or volunteering with a local organisation. Don't be put off by any preconceived notions you might have about geology or who you think a geologist should be. I think geology is for everyone, and we forget that. So it's a really welcoming space. Just make sure that you try, and you'll be welcomed in.
Fantastic. With thanks and a small apology to my amazing colleague, Ashley. Thank you all for your time, and I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Megan, who will take you through the next part of the presentation.
Thanks very much, Tom and Nat. Hi, everybody. Welcome. As Tom mentioned, my name is Megan O'Donnell. I'm Head of Policy and Communications at the Geological Society. I'm also a geoscientist, starting to feel a bit like an AA meeting in here, with a bachelor's degree in geology, and I've got a PhD in geology and geophysics. In my career and in my role as Head of Policy and Communications, I've used many of the transferable and interdisciplinary skills that Ashley mentioned in the video just now to communicate and translate geoscience information and advice to a wide range of audiences, from students to the government and from press to parents. And through my experience, I've developed a strong sense of the opportunity that a geoscience degree can offer people, far beyond understanding and appreciation for our planet and the processes that govern it. So I'm immensely proud to be able to share some of the resources and content that we've developed as part of our perceptions aspect of this campaign, which we designed to raise awareness of and shift perceptions of geoscience, something I've long aspired for the Geological Society to lead on. So, without further ado, it's the third P. This is Geoscience is a public engagement campaign designed to inspire young people and those who influence them to consider a career in geoscience. We wanted to open a world of possibilities to future generations and ultimately sustain geoscience as a discipline for many years to come. With this campaign, we wanted to illustrate what geoscience is today and help people imagine what it might look like in the future. We wanted to showcase the possibilities and advantages of geoscience education and training and connect with people who care deeply about our planet. We want to reach out to people that approach problems creatively and engage with the world in a unique way. This bold initiative, launching today, will sustain and strengthen student interest, enabling choice through awareness. It'll mitigate potential skills shortages, increasing a supply of trained and, more importantly, engaged geoscientists. And it will, lastly, and most importantly of all, broaden the reach and accessibility of the geosciences to more people. So, I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about how we developed our communications and public engagement campaign and the approaches that we took. So as you've already heard, not everybody that is a prospective geoscientist is a young person, but many young people are considering a career. And so we decided to aim our campaign at young people, their parents, families, carers, teachers and careers advisors, or anyone that influences the choices of young people. We chose a bold, digital-first and image-led campaign designed to be shared online and primarily on social media platforms, reaching young people and their influences where they already are. We've created a bespoke branding kit, including a collection of colours, fonts, graphical design elements, and image selection criteria, as well as a suite of ready-made shareable assets, just like the one that you can see on screen now, to showcase both the reality and the opportunity of a geoscience career. With these resources, we hope to build a clearer picture of what it means to be a geoscientist today and ask young people to really picture themselves within the frames. We developed this campaign not just for students, but with them, reaching out to gather insights directly from those who were trying to engage. So we asked students aged 16 to 18 on lots of questions about various design options and elements at very early stage of campaign conception. Those that we spoke to placed emphasis on wanting careers campaigns and careers advice to show them that their career would be fun, interesting, cool, and accessible to them. They wanted it to demonstrate employability. They wanted to be sure that their career choice would lead to a job. And they wanted it to have relevance to their education, experience, and existing skills, not things they were going to learn, but things they already knew that they could do. They also wanted it to showcase the opportunity to develop skills and to continuously learn throughout life, and to help them understand the reality of what the working environment would be. So what kind of job would it be? Where would it be? Who would it be with? And how would they be doing the work? To break down some of the stereotypes that continue to linger about geoscientists, we ensured that campaign materials showcased a wide variety of ways of working, from working outdoors in the field to working with large and small analytical or measurement equipment, working independently, to working in a team or leading one. Conscious of the importance of belonging and the impact of visual representation when it comes to students making choices about their future, we took great care to make sure that the subjects of our campaign were diverse and representative of the geoscience community. We've critically developed image selection criteria to ensure that materials that we created remain on message and consistent. And so to become part of the This is Geoscience campaign, images must be authentic and relatable. So they have to show real world, real jobs and real activities. They need to be engaging and dynamic. They need to be activities, not portraits, not who's doing the job, but what the job is and how people can see themselves also doing that thing. They must be inclusive and people-centric. So images must be diverse, representative, real, and welcoming. No me here, them there kind of visual stimuli. And then finally, all of the images must showcase at least one of the key identified transferable geoscience skills we perceive to be shared by all, if not many if not all, geoscientists. And these skills are creativity, leadership, adventure, curiosity, collaboration, impact, and innovation. By placing value on skills and opportunities and attitudes over knowledge, the campaign seeks to encourage participation and widen the reach of geoscience to new audiences who might not already see themselves as a geoscientist. We also wanted to showcase the truly varied nature of disciplines and specialisms within the geosciences through this campaign, and so chose to align each campaign output with one of the Society's 5 strategic science themes. In case you're not familiar with what these are, they are digital geoscience, planetary science, climate and ecology, energy transition, and geohazards, geoengineering, and georesilience. By no means do these reflect the entirety of every subdiscipline within the geosciences, but by starting with assets that aligned with at least one of these 5 campaigns, we knew we'd be heading in the right direction. And soon there will be a plea to you all to help us create more assets of more fields and more sectors to make sure that the campaign is truly as diverse and representative as the reality of the field and sector and people within it. For example, these 2 campaign assets show 2 examples of engaging in climate and ecology geoscience, one clearly in a team and collaborative setting, and the other showcasing adventure, curiosity, and leadership, both in the field. These next 2 assets contrast work in the field with working with instruments, perhaps more in a lab or inside setting, but both showcase a type of geoscience that's hands-on, tactile, and requires some element of physicality. The working environment itself between both images, however, couldn't be more different. And we wanted these kind of contrasts to showcase to potential geoscientists that there are many ways to have, for example, a hands-on career. By creating a myriad of campaign outputs focusing on various combinations of these skills and themes, we've sought to showcase the true diversity and range of a career in the geosciences, inviting people who work in almost every way possible to see a place and a home for themselves within the subject. As part of this campaign development, we've developed a bespoke branding pack, print and online advertisements, social media posts, stories and reels, and videos and career profiles, as well as a website containing all of these resources and international translations. The intention of this huge suite of materials that are all freely available for anyone to use is that it is used and amplified by yourselves and partners who may not be here tonight globally. It's designed to resonate with young people and those who influence them, and has been translated internationally specifically to maximize the accessibility and reach of this campaign globally. We believe that this campaign can be of value not only to the geoscience community, but to geoscience departments, industry partners, potential employers, as well as many others. And so we have translated campaign materials into 6 UN languages, the 20 most spoken globally, also Swahili, and of course, the 4 national languages of the UK. Through partnership, collaboration, and incredibly wide and broad dissemination, we hope this campaign will influence and inspire tomorrow's geoscientists. For this, we need your help. And so after I show you an example of one of our video career profiles that we've created as part of the This is Geoscience campaign, I'm going to hand you over to Jenny Boland, who is our Director of Membership and Development, who will tell you more about how you can engage with and support This is Geoscience from wherever you're sat.
The great thing about geosciences is that there are many avenues for a career.
It's really satisfying to be involved in something that's going to benefit humanity.
I've been amazed at the world of opportunities that have opened up. It's really broadened my horizons.
It's a real possibility that there is life out there in the rest of the solar system. I look at tiny little bits of meteorites to try and figure out how the planets form, where there's water in the solar system, because water is really important for life. The more and more we learn about these strange, exotic places, the more we learn that actually they're more habitable than we thought. By far, my most exciting day at work was when we found an extremely scientifically important meteorite that we are still studying and will be studying for decades.
Through space exploration, we're continually trying to understand resources on other planetary bodies. My role is to lead the lab, to look after the team and support them with their research and technical activities. We have a team over in the Netherlands who are developing a robot arm, for example. We work with them to develop their technology. We want to understand what resources exist on the moon. How can we use the geology on the moon to support a human and robotic presence there, or further our journey into the solar system?
Calibration and validation is a key step in the making of any scientific instrument. It's a big motivator for me that the missions that I'm working on are going to benefit humanity. I thought I wanted to be an astrophysicist. I did start studying physics, but I realised that actually what I was really interested in was some more applied stuff. So I moved to do a course in geology because that meant I got sort of hands-on. That career led me back in a way into a space science lab and into what I'm doing now. What I find really cool is working on a sea and land surface temperature radiometer so that we can detect signals of climate change. The day that I see the launch of a rocket that's got my equipment on it, that'll be really cool to see.
The great thing about geoscience is there are many avenues for a career if you've got an interest in the way that the Earth works and where we sit in our solar system.
It's all really thrilling stuff, actually. To think of the impact it can have as well, you could combine those two things and it's a really, really good career.
If you love working with people from all over the world, if you want a variety of working locations from the field to the lab to the office, I'd say go for it, because that's really what geoscience has given to me.
Wonderful, thank you, Megan. And it is a pleasure to be with you here tonight. My name is Jenny, as the screen says. I am the Director of Membership and Development at the Geological Society. I am not a geoscientist by background, so I studied philosophy, so a different ology. Although, if the This is Geoscience campaign has existed when I was a student making that decision, especially the information about average career salaries, perhaps we would be in a different situation. So I have the privilege to talk to you all this evening about participation. And as you've heard, participation is at the heart of our This is Geoscience campaign. The campaign has been built through the involvement of individuals and organisations working together to inspire young people, creating tools, resources and messages that the whole geoscience community can get behind and continue to grow for many years to come. As a charity, we definitely could not have reached this point alone. And this slide is just to show you a few of our valued campaign participants so far, whose really kind help has enabled us to test, refine and launch This is Geoscience, so to get us to the point where we are today. It is absolutely not an exaggeration to say that without these organisations and the generous support of many more participants and donors, we would not be here with you this evening discussing this campaign. One of the very first organisations and founding partners to come on board was Nuclear Waste Services, who were a long-term supporter of the Society. Their early investment in the campaign really helped us move from an initial concept to reality to where we are today. But rather than hear that story from me, I am delighted to invite Mike Brophy, who is the Head of Social Impact at Nuclear Waste Services, to share why he decided and the company decided to get involved and the difference that that decision has made. So over to you, Mike, if you'd like to join the stage.
Great, thank you, Jenny, and thank you to the Society for inviting me. My ology was biology, so we're having a bit of a surge of non-geologists at the end of the proceedings. But we all know that Darwin wouldn't got anywhere without the fossil record, don't we? So maybe I do owe a little debt to the geoscientists as well. So I'm Head of Social Impact at Nuclear Waste Services. And that's about, so we're a public sector body. We are looking at geological disposal and low-level disposal of the country's radioactive or nuclear waste. And there's a few faces in the audience who know that full well. And David Shepherd is hiding at the back as well, who's at NWS with us too. And the government policy since 2006 has said that the proposal to put radioactive waste deep underground, certainly beyond 200, 500 meters, is dependent on a willing community, but it's also dependent on a suitable site. And for a suitable site, it's not just the railway and the electricity and the water, it's crucially, will the geology contain the radioactive waste for the hundreds, thousands, millions of years that it might need to do so. And so really, really central to the mission of nuclear waste services are the geologists of the present and the geologists of the future, because our program will last for virtually 200 years from today. It's been a policy since 2006. We expect that the cavities, the tunnels, the chambers that might be constructed deep underground will be there for a couple of 100 years, and then they'll get closed off, and then they'll remain for the thousands beyond that. So we do need to invest in the future. And when Jenny and Nat sort of said, would we like to help, it really fitted the mission of our organization, and obviously the mission and the policies of government, which is looking forward. So we're delighted to invest now in the future. It's kind of what we're doing already. I did have a sneak preview of some of the material and some of the data a little while ago, but boy, you've really developed it. It's fantastic. It's vibrant, it's bright, it's dynamic. I used to be a teacher. I was a head of science before I left and joined Thames Water. And I was really impressed with the education and research basis of what you were trying to do, and the material you unearthed, the quality, the integrity of what you were doing, and the way you presented things has brought that data to life. Really impressive to see the campaign come to it now. I'm very pleased to have helped set it off. So if there are other organisations out there who want to invest in the work of the Society with financial or other resources, I'd certainly recommend you do so. What's crucial for us over the extended period we've got is that pipeline. You know, without the pipeline, you won't get the participation. And so this research is absolutely fundamental. The inspiration that people in this room and beyond can try and give to young people to choose geoscience for the future is really important, because the data has shown it's fragile. Numbers are going to go up and down. Percentages are going to go up and down. We really need to keep them up. We do need to keep them up, not just for our industry, not just for our organisation, but for UK PLC and the world. The planet's the only one we've got at the moment. It's fantastic. We're reaching out to others. Got to do that in a sensitive way. We need people who have got the geological skills, but also got the principles, the value set of people in this organisation, and those that are featured in the videos. So I love the campaign. I love the fact that it's not just here's geology, but this is geoscience. I think it broadens it out. And it provides real challenge to students and educators to say, look, there are more that you can do, perhaps from your traditional view of what geoscience might be. So it's really impressive that you've taken that on, and I think it's a challenge that you lay down to folk. And I can remember when I did my teacher training quite a while back now, but it was about one of the reasons why my tutor was excited at Bath University was I was always interested in education industry links. And it was obvious what I was going to do with biology, because he told me I was going to go into brewing. I think he wanted to place me at Usher's Brewery because he'd never made a placement visit there before. And those of you who know the West Country will know Usher's Brewery, or know of it. But actually, it wasn't obvious. When I went to Thames Water, I thought it's fantastic. The sewage treatment works will really operate couldn't possibly operate without biology, the little microbes, the bugs, whatever you want to call them, bacteria, eating up, you know, the waste that we created. I was hugely disappointed to find actually it's the chemists who controlled everything. As long as the pH was okay, the biology must be working. We don't really care about the biology. So really important that we have the breadth, I think, about what you could do with students' enthusiasm, students' qualifications, students' place in life. And I think what this campaign does, you're really keeping it broad and you actually broaden in it. So it is bold, it's certainly needed, it's certainly timely, it's certainly vibrant. So we're very pleased to give it, you know, a bit of a start, but I don't think we can claim much more than that. Really, the society has developed it and produced it. I think the stuff is impactful. I think it is going to. It's a real challenge, isn't it? You know, David and I were chatting. The youngsters, as ever, you know, we were more advanced than our parents, weren't we? And our kids and the students today, they're on to the social media, they're on to the various platforms, they're on to the various mechanics. I think the society here has taken a very bold step to actually try and address that. Folks, we've got to catch up, right? We've got to catch up the young people, we've got to catch up society so that the collateral, what did you call it? The assets that you've created really can be picked up and used in education. And as John said, you know, as parents, grandparents, influences in our own way, you probably hadn't thought of yourself as an influencer. You have now, okay? You have now. You are an influencer. You might not know whether it's TikTok or TokTik, I'm not sure, but you're an influencer. So use the material, use the data-rich material that's been created here and reports. And I think, Jenny, you're going to tell, and Natalie's going to tell people how you can get involved, more involved in the campaign after I've spoken. It is important. I think people have said that. Would I, like Jenny, would I have gone to be a geoscientist if I'd been at school? Probably not. You know, I was disappointed when I got to secondary school. There was no nature table there. But so I stuck with the biology. Maybe this might not have swayed me, but maybe it would. I don't know. It's a collaborative venture. We know it's not just our sector, nuclear sector, or the you know, geological infrastructure projects. There's a wide range of sectors do work collaboratively with the society. Be very happy to speak to anybody afterwards, and David can certainly tell you the range of geologists that we've got working for us. Some of them are doing finance stuff, some of them are doing project management, some of them are doing HR, but they've got geoscience at the heart of what they do, I know. And we've just, as an example of how we'll use it, we've taken on a company that's going to produce some educational materials for them. And we will insist that the findings of the society and this is Geoscience program should actually be built into that curriculum material. So your work will be timely, your work will be used, hopefully, and your work will inspire the next generation. So thank you for all you've done. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike. And thank you to all of our participants who have joined us on this journey so far. So we are incredibly proud of what we've collectively achieved to date, but we absolutely know that this is just the beginning. There is so much more we want to do to inspire young people to see geoscience as the vibrant and rewarding career that it is. And we recognise, for example, that much of the campaign material we've produced so far is skewed towards certain industries in terms of, for example, planetary geoscience and materials geoscience, largely because that's where we've received some of the funding to date. But there are so many more careers that we need to showcase across a really diverse range of geoscience specialisms. So we still have a long way to go and would really appreciate as wide a participation as possible from the geoscience community. So in a moment, Nat will share a few more ways about how people can get involved, particularly around creating and promoting resources to magnify the campaign's impact. But before that, I would like to give a few examples of how, if you are in a position to give and would like to support the campaign in this way, donations could help us to take this work further. So every gift, whether that's 50p, £5, £50,000, from an individual or through an organisation, would make a difference in helping the campaign reach more young people, enabling them to discover the careers available to them in geoscience. So as an example, the careers profiles that Tom mentioned earlier probably cost around about £250 to create each, and that's to create and share a new job profile, opening up young people's eyes to a career pathway they might not have known about. The potential reach is really significant. So last year alone, around about 95,000 educational resources were downloaded from our website, and our social media posts had 3.7 million impressions. As an example as well, the posters that Tom mentioned earlier, so a donation of £2,500 could create a new geoscience education poster, like the Geoscience for the Future poster or plate tectonics posters shown here. And our education posters are really popular. We frequently receive really strong feedback from young people and educators about how useful they are. We know that last year around 30,000 were downloaded electronically, and also 700 physically. Or for example, with the video that you've just seen with the planetary careers, the cost of producing that for the campaign was roughly around £10,000 for the testimonials, highlighting a range of geoscience career roles and the impact of the work. So I'm just going to play another short video now demonstrating 3 minerals careers, featuring some extremely kind and wonderful participants who have shared about their careers, many of whom are here in the audience tonight. And this video was funded by a kind donation from the Department for Business and Trade, who are also represented tonight. So a huge thank you to them. We'll just play this now.
The opportunities that geology offer in terms of exploring the world around you is something really unique.
A career in geoscience provides a lot of flexibility.
I really want to feel like I'm part of something bigger than myself.
Studying geology really brings your mind into focus of the natural world. I work as a hydrogeochemist in the mining sector. I look at how metals move in and out of rocks and how we can better protect the environment. I really want to be making something impactful in terms of protecting the environment and working towards a more sustainable future. Here we're next to one of my favourite river spots in Northern Ireland, and I really want to make sure that areas like this are protected from human impacts and working towards a sustainable and just future.
I wanted to work in something that was really on the forefront. I loved geology and had a passion for the natural world. And I thought, how can I use my interest to help the bigger picture in society? So I'm currently working on a project that's based in Peru, in the Andes, heading through the hills, mapping the rocks, or setting up drill rigs out there, providing society the materials that we use day to day and the materials that we need for green technologies and the whole green transition. I love it. I think it's such a privilege to be outside, and to work in an area that feels dominated by nature is just such a wondrous thing to do.
Every effort helps, so even if I can be like a tiny part of making a change, that really motivates me. My research involves looking at mining waste and what byproducts we can extract. Minerals like rare earth elements, which only exist as byproducts, we need them for wind turbines and even just gadgets such as phones and tablets. One of the parts I like about my research is that it's in collaboration with industries, so I get to see how my lab work is relevant to industry currently. A career in geoscience provides a lot of flexibility. There's like a range of skills that are needed in the field that can come from pretty much anywhere.
I think a career in geoscience is perfect for anyone that's got an interest in science, working internationally, an interest in the natural world, and working towards a more sustainable future.
The industry entails so many different roles and opportunities that really opens a huge skill set to you. We need new brains to come in and think of new ways that's really going to be helping future generations.
So we hope that this shows just how vital participation is to this campaign and will be in the future. If you would like to take part in growing and developing the campaign, we would absolutely love to hear from you. That could be through sharing content, becoming a campaign or founding partner, or by making a gift today using the QR code on screen. Our campaign email is also shown on the screen, and we'll include this in the follow-up email, so please do get in touch with us. But all that is left for me to say is thank you so much for your time, and I'll now pass back over to Nat.
Thanks very much, Jenny. So, launching today as a global campaign, but this is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. And as we have repeatedly put to you this evening, we need your help in ensuring that this is a sustainable campaign that can continue to grow in the months and years to come. We have created a standalone website. This is geoscience.com, which I understand is suffering a little bit from its custom domain. So if you scan the QR code on the screen, it will take you to the live website directly, where all of the information that we've showed today, all of the data, all of the images, all of the assets, the videos are all available for you to use, to download, and to share amongst your own communities, whether that's digital, whether it's in print, or whether it's one of the many translations that are currently available. The website is set up so that you can explore everything that we've shown today. Videos are embedded, you can link to them on your own website through YouTube. All of the assets have been designed without an affiliation to the Geological Society. The report we're releasing today in its entirety is also available on the website, and some of the data contained within it is also available in a much more readable format on the website. The executive summary gives you a condensed version of what we're presenting, but each section is visually appealing. All of the charts, all of the data, all of those snippets of information, those key messages that we want you to take home about the number of geoscience students, the availability of geoscience programs in the UK and abroad, and the salaries available to those students are all available on here. There are plenty of resources that you've seen today and you'll be able to experience with us upstairs in the upper library if you're attending in person today. But for those of you online, you can still participate. All of the resources are available online. The posters, the translations, the educational resources, whether those are lesson plans for teachers, activity sheets to download and do with your kids or grandkids in the comfort of your own home. There are plenty of ways in which you can engage with the resources that are currently available and all of the new resources that will continue to be updated and added to this site as we continue on through the This is Geoscience journey. So we have a couple of key messages for the This is Geoscience campaign, and I won't read them word for word because you've been hearing a lot from us stood up at a podium, and we want it to be a conversation. We want the community to be part of this and to help us shape the future of the This is Geoscience campaign for the benefit of everybody around the world. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to the question and answer portion of the evening. I'm going to ask all of our speakers today to come up and join us back here as a panel discussion, and I will try and chair from the podium so that we can take questions from the audience. So whilst they do that, I will just let you know that the online participants, as we know we have more than 400 of you online, please use the Q&A function. I can see that the information has already been shared with you and there's lots of comments online. Somebody in the room will read out the question for the benefit of those in the room before it gets answered. And for those of you in the room that may have questions and comments, please raise your hand and wait until a microphone comes to you before you ask your question. And that's so the online audience can also hear the question before it gets answered as well. So whilst everyone takes their seats, I'll thank you for listening to us and we'll move on to our Q&A. It's going to be a bit cozy, so I apologise for that. Okay, the floor is yours. Does anybody have a question or a comment about anything that you've seen this evening? Any ideas for how we can continue to grow? And we'll open up to the online audience as well. Okay, we have one over here in the room.
Good evening, and I'm not a geologist either, so I apologise. One question I have got is obviously a lot of your campaign appears to be directed possibly towards the more older young students, so 16 plus element there. As a representative of the Royal Commission for the Exhibition of 1851, one of the things we're always looking at is where the best point of contact is for STEM education to try and excite the minds and imagination of the next generation of scientists and engineers. How far down the scale in terms of education levels are you thinking seriously about within your campaign? Because often it's our experience in dealing with other institutions that you need to start attracting attention and awareness really as you move between primary and secondary. So I wasn't really, it wasn't clear to me during your presentation whether that had become part of your focus at this stage or whether it was for later.
Absolutely. That is a fantastic question. And I'm going to pass that to Megan to start with, because one of Megan's other roles, as well as head of policy and communications here at the Society, is she's also helping lead our education and outreach teams at the moment. So Megan, over to you.
Thanks, Nat. And that is, oh God, it's far away. That's an excellent question and an excellent point. To answer it very simply, the campaign that we've launched today is aimed at ages 14 to 18, and that was a very specific choice. But we also know that most students make career affinities or affiliations by age 7. And so if you're trying to convince someone to be a geoscientist, 14 is too late. This campaign isn't trying to do that. It's trying to show them that they may already have qualities, perhaps an interest in science, a want to work creatively, no interest in science, but a curious mind or kind of a sense of adventure. And I guess rather than influence, open up awareness and choice. So because students are not being exposed to some of these concepts clearly in the curriculum at school, which we've pointed out through some of the data that we showed, basically we wanted to remind students that geoscience is on offer. It's not maybe what they think it is. And at a critical moment where they're about to push a button and make a choice rather than kind of think about who they are, we wanted to remind them that it was there for them rather than convince them they're going to be a geoscientist when they don't want to be.
Brilliant. Thanks, Megan. We have one down the front here.
Thank you. How do you link to other disciplines like chemistry, physics, engineering generally, all of whom probably have similar programs promoting careers in their bit? Is there a way that we can insert the geological opportunities into such? I mean, my wife became a geologist because she got a job preparing chemicals, preparing samples for a palynologist. And it just seems to me, can we hang a little something on their programs? And
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really good question, and it poses a real opportunity for us as geoscientists. We know that geoscience is an interdisciplinary subject, and it has aspects of chemistry, biology, physics, maths, other subjects as well, all combined within it. So we hope that by putting this campaign out there and partnering with organizations who are representing those other disciplines, we can start collaborating more closely. We know there's a Choose Geography campaign. We know there is a physics campaign, and we'll be able to put our own one out there and start trying to find those areas where the campaigns intersect and be able to share those resources. So a geochemist could be promoted by us here at the Geological Society and by our neighbours just next door at the Royal Society of Chemistry as well, for example. Does anybody on the panel want to follow up with anything based on your personal experiences and your careers?
I mean, only to say that when we were developing the This is Geoscience public engagement and communications campaign, we sought inspiration widely from existing campaigns. And we spoke to many, many people who already run campaigns with challenges, very successful campaigns, campaigns that have got themselves off the ground with a whole lot more than we have managed to. And I think that what we have learned from studying how other subjects are doing it, and I guess what they've managed to achieve, is that this is not a 2-year initiative. It can't be something that's short term. It needs to be something that is collaborative, long-term, sustained, and incredibly serious. And so I guess it's our hope to be able to mimic the scale of continuity that our kind of other STEM partners have been able to in their campaigns going forward.
Mike, I wonder if I can call on you on this one as a non-geoscientist at the table.
Yeah, I think as a teacher and somebody, or an ex-teacher and somebody who's been involved in promoting STEM in the widest possible area, I think if you are part of an organisation that's got geoscientists working for you or with you, then the case studies are really powerful for young people to be able to see themselves in the world you know, on the screen, or small screen, big screen, doesn't matter. So if you've got ambassadors, or you've got geoscientists who are now, you know, more engineers, or are more HR people, or are more finance or project management, if you can extract out of them their career path, and if they can be willing to share that, that's an inspiration for young people. And teachers don't want a closed off, you know, you've got to be a geologist, you've got to be an engineer. I think the society said it right about the qualities that it might take. And therefore those qualities might be replicated or shared in a Venn diagram with other areas. So I'd certainly encourage you to, if you can, to promote case studies and get people to step forward with their career profiles.
Thank you. John?
I'd come back on two things, if I may. First of all, the first gentleman who spoke, Megan gave a great answer as to what this is geoscience, but what you didn't say, Megan, is all the other things that the society does. I've been upstairs when there have been dinosaurs walking about, well, costumes of dinosaurs walking about. We had a great campaign here for the Megalosaurus.
Megalosaurus.
Megalosaurus, my apologies. Lots of school children came into that. We've taken that on the road, and there are a number of distributive boxes which students can, young people can get to feel bits of rock and minerals and so on. So there is there's a big element of that, but this was a focused program. On the question from Mark about integration, we do have a lot of programs. I was here last December working, as Nat said, with the Royal Society of Chemists. We've run joint ventures with, not joint ventures, but joint events with engineers and so on. And my own career, which has spanned both industry and academia, most of it's been spent not working with fellow geologists and scientists and geophysicists, but with engineers, particle physicists at the moment, to help you understand the structure of the shallow earth and so on. So there are plenty of links, and we need to keep fostering those. It's about, of course, Mark, having conversations, not only in formal meetings or like this, but later on upstairs when we're enjoying a glass of wine and so on. That's where the breakthroughs tend to come from, the interdisciplinary components. Thanks, Steph.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. We've got lots of questions in the room, but we're going to go to one online first.
We should go to our lovely online audience who have been really engaged all evening. So one question, can this initiative be expanded to include the BGS and the UK GSA?
Absolutely. I think we probably need to define what those are. So the BGS are the British Geological Survey. You will have seen them featured in some of our videos already this evening. We haven't got their logo yet on the website because we haven't had permission to use it, but we hope to have it soon. So they are very much already engaged. You'll be able to see on the website or upstairs, if you come and join us, that we have got a survey geologist from the BGS in one of our careers videos talking about her career. So absolutely, we will be partnering with them. And the UK GSA is the UK Geoscience Strategic Alliance. And I'm really happy to say that we've got several representatives of that alliance, both here in the room. We've got Ian Stewart, who's the chair of the UK GSA, and Nick Kaur, who's here representing the alliance as well. And there are many members of the alliance as well online. So we're constantly having conversations. The Geological Society is a member of that alliance, and we'll be working together to see how we can take what we've done today to the next step and how we can work collaboratively for that. Absolutely. Any other questions? Somebody's got a microphone at the back. There we go.
Hello. Thank you for all this. This is absolutely amazing. I am a geoscientist, but these days, if I hit something with a hammer, it tends to go splash. I was wondering about marine sciences in this. I was just interested to know if you had interest in partnering with marine science organisations to expand that as a possible career route for a geoscientist.
I'll answer very quickly with chair's privilege, and then I'm going to throw it probably to Megan and then Tom in the middle of the table here. So absolutely, we want to partner with anyone and everyone to get this out there as far and wide as we can. And that interdisciplinary angle, that collaborative angle, is really important. You might have noticed in Megan's presentation that one of the assets that we've created is somebody scuba diving to show that there is marine geoscience in the marine realm, and there is still a lot to discover about what's at the bottom of the seas and the oceans on planet Earth, let alone what's out there in other marine realms in the solar system. So yes, absolutely, we would love to. And if you've got suggestions, please make the link for us. That would be really welcome. Do you want to pick up on anything else?
Only to say that the entire essence of the campaign is inclusionary rather than exclusionary. And if somebody wants to be perceived as a geoscientist and aligned with the geoscience brand, then there's probably someone out there who doesn't yet know that that is geoscience or that they could do that. And so I think it kind of works both ways, in that if there's somebody out there that would like to be part of the campaign from a representation point of view, then that kind of proves the point that there will probably be lots of young people out there who would like to see their interests represented through that profile. So call to arms really for anybody that wants to help us create more resources. We need good pictures and really lovely interviews and friendly faces, and any kind of enthusiasm essentially to be part of it is very, very welcome.
Okay, next question. We've got one down here from Ian and then one at the back from Chris. Let's go to the second. Whoever gets the microphone first.
First of all, well done. Fantastic stuff. You know, the UK Geoscience Strategic Alliance has been wrestling with a lot of these issues, and it's just great to see some of the content and insights. But I'm going to have my question is really from the perspective of the academic departments, and you saw that kind of roller coaster ride, and we're kind of feeling as if we're on it, slightly nauseous as we've gone through these numbers. I think one of the questions that I really like, and I think Mike mentioned about the that it was evidence-based, and that's great. And I think what I really like about it is its adaptability and the fact that it's going to be evolving, and you just touched on that. So from the university's point of view, you know, we've been in a difficult position trying to respond to things, because on the one hand, in terms of the communication, on the one hand, you've had the marketing departments of university telling you how to market to your subjects, and if they come top down. And then at the other extreme, you've got individuals in departments being very creative and passionate and trying to do stuff. And then the other aspect that's thrown in there is we normally take our guidance from industry or for education. Now, on the industry side, the whole world, you know, whole thing is transitioning. The energy transition, that landscape is changing. So it's hard to get a sense of it there. If you go to the other side, we get Gen Z students, completely different, I think, to the students we had before. And the universities and the academic departments are in the middle. So my question is about how can academic departments hack your stuff? Now, what I mean by that is you've put a lot of effort into a methodology and a philosophy for communication. And I think that's really important. You know, there's a kind of science to how we do this. And I think I'd love to see that stuff getting transferred to the university so that they can not just take the branded stuff, we'll probably use that, but also the methodology about how we communicate better to that. So I just wonder if there was options for, as I say, and the reason is that off the back of the marine science one, university departments will want to emphasize slightly different things. I mean, in the old days, every department was more or less the same, but I don't think that's the case now. So that idea of local, you know, people taking the fantastic ideas you've done and doing it in a different way, packaging it in a different way to suit their purposes for their audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really vital to the success for the whole sector, regardless of the campaign, and for other sectors as well. And one of the ways in which the campaign is striving to achieve that is that brand pack that Megan mentioned is being made available that has all of that information. So you can recreate content in a similar vein yourselves. So whether you want to use the colors or the fonts or the imagery, or all those assets are available. So you can mix and match them and use them in a way that works for you, whether that's a university department, whether that's an employer, whether it's a non-profit organization for your members, for the people you represent, whatever that may be. But I'm going to bring John in here, if I may, as a resident academic and industry expert, to give his thoughts.
It was a grand question, Ian. Thank you very much indeed. When we went through the run-through at 6 o'clock this evening, a lot of my background conversation was, what am I hearing that we can use within the academic piece? And I think that the one thing that struck me is one of the key dates in any academic calendar is the open days. We don't do interviews these days, but we do have open days where prospective students come along with their guardians, parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and interrogate staff and students as to what it's like to be a geoscientist. And it's very qualitative. And yet what we've heard today is some really stunningly quantitative information, not least the salary information. I think if alone that will be manna from heaven for many, many open days. And so even if that's the little wedge, all the material which Nat's talked about and Megan and the whole team will really gel with academia. Getting the material into the teaching is going to be more difficult, but the route in is through, we need more students. We need to translate more interest into bums on seats when it comes to it. And I think this provides a potential key which will unlock that. Time will tell, but I think that's what, in a sense, in the pre-run, I was thinking, oh, yeah, we can do that. So great stuff. Yeah.
We hope so, absolutely. Chris, you've got a
Hi,
question.
yeah, mine's just a comment, really. I mean, I'm really pleased you've called the campaign "This is Geoscience" rather than "This is Geology." And I say that because there's been a lot of discussion over the last 5 years about what our discipline that we all care deeply for and we think is really important, what it's called. And I think that the choice you've made is great. I think my personal view is it's a much more progressive way of, and it helps with the marketing rather than "This is Geology." But I think it's quite funny that it's called "This is Geoscience" and it's coming from the Geological Society. But I think you've pulled the plaster off and that's great. You've gone for it. So kudos, yeah.
Well, the name, of course, comes from 1807. So,
That'll take some time to change.
Yeah.
Baby steps, baby steps. Do we have a final question from the online audience? No? Okay, I will throw it open to the room. Final question of the night, if anyone would like to make it. Okay, we have one over here.
Sorry, I go to a lot of schools and I talk to a lot of students, and one of the main concerns I get asked is, do we do degree apprenticeships? Because the cost of living is a scary thing for a lot of students. I don't know much about student finance anymore, but I believe that there's potentially disparity between what they're given and obviously what everything costs. So I was just wondering if there's is there an update or an initiative for that or something like that? Sorry.
Great question. And I'm absolutely not the most qualified person in the room to speak on that. So I will definitely make sure we introduce you to the person that probably is during the reception afterwards. But there is currently a degree apprenticeship in geosciences being offered within the UK. The first one is up and running, I believe, as of this academic year. And there are others being adopted and developed at different levels as well. So there will be further ones coming online in the coming years.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Can I ask where, please, Matt?
Keele.
Keele, brilliant.
And Nick is the person to come and speak to about it. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to put your hands together and thank all of our fantastic speakers this evening. And for those of you in the room, I hope you will stay and you will join us for a drink upstairs in our upper library. We have a range of different educational resources, the website. There are different videos to come and watch and explore and get hands-on. And for those of you online, we have seen all the positive comments that's been going on for the last hour and a half. We're really, really grateful. We'll download them. We will condense everything. And we really, really look forward to taking this forward with all of you. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you're not joining us upstairs, enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you are, please follow us upstairs and we'll see you very soon. Thank you.